I mentioned to Wanz, hey, Sean Paul's going to be on the show. And he goes, oh, I think I know his keyboard player. Well, of course you do. Of course you know his keyboard player. Let's bring Sean in. Sean Paul, Grammy Award winning. You've got a Grammy, don't you, Wanz?
Yep, he does. Yes, he does.
You got a Grammy. Sean Paul has a Grammy. He's joining us from, I think, Jamaica, and is kind enough to be on there. Sean, thanks for doing this. Thanks a lot for doing this with us. And say hi to everybody.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for having me on here, man. Appreciate the vibe.
So you guys can kind of have a mutual admiration society, Wanz, because I was looking at this earlier today. You, of course, sang on Thrift Shop, the Macklemore hit. 1.4 billion views of that song, guys, on YouTube. And then Sean Paul, unbelievable amount of music released. And I think the top 5 songs on Spotify have like 1.6 billion plays.
Yes, sir.
It's amazing. I know it's about more than that, Sean. It's about creating art and making people happy and everything. But there is something kind of cool when you see a lot of people digging what you do.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. When you find something that's your purpose, like your job to be your purpose, that's the best thing in life, man. So I give thanks every day that I'm able to walk on this great highway that Bob Marley and people like Peter Tosh and Burning Spear and Third World have been able to pave for me and my generation and people like myself and Shaggy and Beanie Man. It's been an amazing ride, man.
Amen. At what point did you know this was what you were going to do?
About 15 years old, I wanted to be a producer, and I convinced my mom to buy me a Yamaha keyboard, which had a little drum section on one side. And she bought one at a flea market, which had a crack in it, but it still worked. And, I used to practice on that, making rhythms. And then after a while, I started to write rhymes at about 17 years old. And I didn't really break until about 24, about the age of 24. So, wow. Yeah, it took a few years of just kind of like looking, listening, and learning and trying to find my place in the whole market space, in the genre. But since then, it's been history. Since about 1998, it's been good for me.
Okay, Graz, before you leave, let's bring in our friend Duff McKagan, and we'll be surrounded by guys who, amazingly enough, are more musically talented than either one of us. I think Graz and I were going to make it in the music business, but talent is what held me back, Graz. I'm not sure what held you back, but look at this.
I got my Duffware.
Look at this, play into the crowd. Sean, I want to ask you to tell a story that I've seen you tell before, and I think Wanz and Duff will both get a kick out of this, about the first time you heard one of your songs on the radio. It's a song I think called Baby Girl, and it's 1996. Yes, you tell the story, because I can't imagine what a thrill that is to create music and then to hear it on the radio. And the first time you heard it on the radio, what was going on?
Well, I was actually at the beach. I play water polo as well as I dabble in basketball, but I do play water polo. I've been playing water polo for Jamaica. My father did. My grandfather was on the first team in the Commonwealth Games in the late 50s. So basically, it's a family tradition. And a friend was down from Holland that was training with us, and he wanted to go to the beach, and it was Saturday. So I had given the song to a DJ that I know, and he was going to play it on the radio on Saturday. So he was like, "I'm going to play it." I didn't know if he was really going to play it. I didn't know what time he was going to play it. And I took this dude to the beach, and he was actually went off in the water, and I turned the car on, the radio in the car on, and I sat there with a red striped bear, and it was just listening, and then he played it, and I was like, "Oh, yo," and I had nobody to tell. I kept looking around because this dude was in the water, and then everybody else was not really on the beach. It was like Saturday, but no one was there that day. And so it was an experience by myself. I couldn't tell anybody, "Yo, this is my song playing," and there was no cell phones at that time to be able to call everyone and be like, "Yo, listen to the radio." So it was kind of a surreal moment where I was kind of wondering if, when a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it? so I was wondering if people were hearing it at the same time. So it was very cool though, and it's always been magic since, when you do hear your work or see someone even post something that you've done before. It's an amazing feeling, and it's what keeps me going now still today.
I thought you guys would like that story. Duff, how are you doing, man? You look good. You look like you're working. Are we interrupting some work?
I'm at the studio right now. There's a guitar blazing in the background. You probably can't hear it, but hopefully you can't hear it. Hey, Sean Paul. Wanz?
Dude.
Yo. Graz, how you doing up there?
Doing all right, buddy. It's good to see you, man.
You too. Man, I love that story about hearing your song the first time. I mean, I remember the first time hearing. We had Guns N' Roses gave a demo to Rodney on the Rock at K-Rock. So it was like 85. I think we just done like Don't Cry, Welcome to the Jungle. I forget what other songs were on this demo.
Big tunes, man.
We did it in like a Hollywood, the cheapest studio you could do it in. The guy who recorded it and mixed it, he pulled a gun on us. He had done too much crack cocaine or something. And when you're like, it's your first time you're mixing and like the drummer's like more hi-hat and the guitar player's saying more guitar and the singer's more vocal. And we were all probably doing that. And he was too out of his mind. He pulled a handgun out at us and told us to get the hell out of the studio.
We got
the mixes. Huh?
You got on his last nerve.
Yeah, we got out but we got the mixes and we gave it to Rodney on the Rock. Some Sunday, late night Sunday show at that time, and they played Welcome to the Jungle. It was a demo version, but hearing that for the first time, and you're right, like was it just me and the guys in my band who heard it? Probably,
Wanz, for you,
I mean, big songs, man.
Wanz, for you've been a part of so many bands in Seattle, and you certainly heard some of your music on the radio, but I'm going to ask you just about Thrift Shop because that thing blew up so much. What was that like for you, a career musician, very talented, and all of a sudden you're hanging on to this rocket that won't stop rising?
Well, I didn't. It's funny to listen to these guys' story because it's like I immediately go back to about 8 years ago this week, where 8 years ago, 2 days ago, I had just walked away from my full-time computer testing job. I had no safety net, and here I am in the band with Macklemore, Ryan Lewis, manager, and a couple other people. We're heading up to Irvine to get our in-ear molds made. I didn't know what was going on. So Macklemore is sitting right in front of me, and then the manager gets off the phone, changes the station on the radio, and then like 2 songs, and then what? The whole van is quiet. Listen to the whole song. Nobody says a word. So it goes to commercial right after, and all I'm looking in front of me because I've got big huge smile because I'm tingling all over, and all I see is this hand come back over behind me. And that's it. And we just did a little gap like that, and nobody said anything else. It was amazing.
Yeah, man. Dope.
Sean, I'm wondering, with your age and everything, you probably were growing up, and I don't know how much exposure you have when Guns N' Roses put out the album Appetite for Destruction, which is the all-time best-selling debut album in music history.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure if you were listening to that as a young guy in Jamaica or not. I mean, I'm assuming it got everywhere. What was your exposure to that album?
It got everywhere, and at that time there were people in my neighborhood that had satellite dishes, so we would go to their house to check out MTV, and that was big on MTV. So Axl Rose, the whole thing. We definitely know all those songs, and I can't say that I'm a rockhead in terms of I know every rock song, but I definitely know those songs you were talking about. And Guns N' Roses, legendary.
Totally. I stocked so many records at U District Tower Records, and I used to hate it because it's like I was so burnt out on oh man, Appetite just totally burned me out because everybody played it. Everybody hated it. So yeah, when Thrift Shop started to get really, it's bad when your friends hit you up on Facebook and go, yeah, I like you and all, but I'm really tired of hearing that song.
Hey Duff, you and I were talking yesterday, and you were saying, well, I don't know how much I've never been to Jamaica, and then you start talking about you start rolling off all kinds of music stuff. I mean, you're a guy. I think if we cut you, music notes would come out of your body. That's what you breathe. So you've got some background with Jamaican music just as a consumer, right?
As a consumer, yeah. My mom used to take me to. I was the last of 8 kids, and my mom started working, I think, when I was probably 3 or so. And my dad was out of the house, and my mom would take me to like art house movies. She was trying to get like hip with culture and whatnot, what she had missed. And we went and saw Harder They Come, and I was probably when that came out. When was that? 77, maybe?
Probably.
70, yeah, about that. 77, 78.
Yeah, we went to Gastineau. We went to the Grand Illusion Theater in the district, and it blew my mind. And my mom cried during the movie, and that touched me. And so I started to you would see Bob Marley. He had played the Paramount. I think just maybe I was too young to go, but I started to get into Bob Marley.
Yeah,
and then I got into punk rock, and right about the same time, ska hit, and the Specials were my band, and I saw the Specials. Specials were amazing, and they were like the ska thing, which was still off the skip, And I got into like this reggae music. Like, why was it this? I learned about the radio skip and all this thing from England, I guess to Jamaica, right? They would get the radio signal off the skip, and then you would hear the Clash. I got into the Specials and the Selector, and the Clash started adding like reggae stuff into, and Paul Simono's bass lines were like reggae lines. So I mean, maybe I was kind of doing white boy reggae or whatever, but I really got into the legit, Lee Scratch Perry, and the stuff that I could get into. So I know it. I haven't been to Jamaica yet. My wife's been there twice before we met, and we haven't played there yet. And I never get to go on vacation, so that's one place I want to go for sure soon.
Nice.
Well, we got to make this happen. We're going to broker a deal. Sean Paul opens for Guns N' Roses once we're all traveling again, and it'll be in Jamaica. I'll take my customary 8% off the top, Duff, and everybody will make money. We'll all be happy. It'll be a great thing for all.
That'll be dope. I'll sit in with Sean Paul. You can ask Duff. I can handle myself on stage, so I'd love to sit in.
Well, I was going to say, Sean, I want to ask you, Wanz and Duff have worked together before. They've done some cool stuff on stage. You've collaborated with a lot of people. I mean, you go through your catalog. It's like, wow, look, he's singing here with everybody. How do those happen? Is it you meet somebody and say, let's work? Is it your manager? How do you end up working with various people?
It's a mixture of both. Back in the early days, me being someone who was, as I said before, exposed to bands like Guns N' Roses through the whole MTV experience and stuff like that. I had an open mind as to how I wanted to sound. My first album was called Dirty Rock, which I kind of pushed fun at the sound of dancehall or reggae music. There was some skits in there, which kind of played me. It went through me doing rehearsal with a band, but the band was a rock band. And I was like, no, bro, you guys got it all wrong. If you listen to the album, you hear that stuff. But it was kind of me poking fun at me being a dancehall reggae cat that liked rock and liked different types of music also. So and then in the beginning, I was always trying to bridge the gap. So anybody I met, I would go up to them and say, yo, let's do some work. That's how it started. And then it started to be like more of the management, people come into management for different collabs and stuff. But I can say I've learned a lot by being able to work with so much different, genres and just different artists and producers. It's been amazing for me.
Wanz, when you think about it, I don't know if there's another country that is closer associated with a specific sound than Jamaica, and whether it's reggae or dancehall or island, whatever you want to label it. Maybe we shouldn't even label music, but there is a sound there that is unique to that? Like you hear it, we can all hear it in our head right now. We've got this idea of what that sounds like, and Sean's music is very much in that groove. I can't think of any other country that's got that. I mean, Australia's got all kinds of stuff. Jamaica has that sound, man.
Yeah, but every country has that sound, and what you're talking about, there are different parts to the whole Caribbean culture. So cats from the main island Jamaica are going to sound one way, cats from Bermuda are going to sound another way, and it all mixes together. It's just like anywhere else. I mean, Duff and Guns N' Roses sounded one way, but if you hop over to the valley, there's probably some other band that's in the same lane, but they don't sound the same.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Duff, what are you guys hearing? Or I mean, I'm looking to you to solve the COVID crisis. Are you guys making any plans? I mean, you were in mid-tour, Guns N' Roses, in this incredibly successful tour that, as you know, I have renamed. The tour is Not in This Lifetime. I've named it Not Gonna End in This Lifetime. Keep selling out buildings. It's the third highest grossing tour in history. It's an amazing success story given the history, and everybody knows you guys didn't talk for a long time. Now you're blowing and going in this. It's almost as if the virus came to try and do what nobody else can do, which is stop Guns N' Roses. And
Right.
When do you think? Do you have a feel for when you'll be back out?
Well, as Sean Paul and Wanz know, we were as a profession, the first sort of affected, like shut down, not like rolling down to a slow start. It was shut down. We had a tour booked, and it started March, whatever that was, 8th, down in Mexico City. And we started rehearsing down in LA in February, let's say 15th. And those were the days when it's like, oh, maybe we should wash our hands. It was hitting Seattle. Maybe we should, elbow bump now. Don't touch the doorknob. We had the crew and everybody at the rehearsal studio. And by the time it came to go to Mexico City, it was like, it wasn't down in Mexico yet. It wasn't down in South America yet. Is this going to stop somewhere? So we flew down to Mexico City. By the day of the show, the promoter and the government in Mexico City and us were like, is this a good idea? So they took the temperature of the first 20,000 people. Like Mexico City was completely open. They weren't washing their hands, or it wasn't there yet, So nobody had a fever. 3 people out of 20,000 people had a temperature, which is probably low for any show. So we went ahead and played that show. I guess it was probably the last rock show on the planet. We came home right after the show. Costa Rica shut down. They closed their borders. That was our next show. Ecuador, where they were still like, yeah, let's go ahead. And we were thought, maybe we should wait this one out. So everything shut down after that. We are booked. We're booked to start touring in June in Portugal, June of 2021. And like Sean Paul and like Wanz, you book the shows, you cross your fingers, you hope for a vaccine, right?
Right.
I'm creating music, a ton of, like, I think probably you guys too, right? I've had a COVID spree of writing songs, man. And now I'm recording a bunch of stuff, and working out, having a great relationship with my wife. Our kids are grown, and
that's the best thing.
I'm looking at the glass half full, trying to help where I can, people in my industry, people in my community, homeless, mental health stuff, and just trying to do the best I can do with what I got, and that's about it.
Sean, I want to, before we wrap it up, I want to ask you, this is a huge thing that Coach Rick Turner has put together for the Jamaican national basketball team. And, the goal of this, and it's going to continue for the next 22 hours with all kinds of guests from all kinds of places, and just to raise money and raise awareness for Jamaica's national basketball team to try and qualify for the 2024 Olympics. You're there. You're one of the biggest stars down there. What would it mean? And there's been great athletic success in Jamaica and in other sports. But what would it mean to get a national basketball team that was good enough to get into the Olympics?
Oh, man, that would mean a great deal to me. I'm a fan of the sport. as I said, I never played at school. I used to do water polo and swimming. But when I stopped around, I probably stopped that around age 17, and or didn't take that training as much seriously. But I became someone who just wants to be fit, and I started to play with other people in different neighborhoods and just at schools. And just knowing the history of people like Patrick Ewing coming from our country and excelling so great in the sport, and so many others. I've always wanted to see this happen. So I commend Coach and everybody involved on trying to bring awareness that you're trying to reach to the next Olympics. And I just think it's been a good thing. A lot of times me becoming, this public persona that I am now, I've always wanted to try and do things like build basketball courts or hoops. We've done certain things in areas for a small amount of people, but I've always wanted to see the sport evolve. And I played with some pretty good people that of course I'm not able to dunk like them and all of that, but it's just been almost like you almost feel like it's a waste of talent for these kids just to be playing in backyards. You know what I mean? A lot of the kids that I've played with, like I've been 30, 40 years old playing with 19-year-old kids, and they're amazing. You know what I mean? So with the proper coaching and the proper training and the right mindset behind the whole movement, I think we should be able to do some damage there. I think it's a great thing, and I'm looking forward to helping out in any which way I can.
Well, you've certainly helped by being here. Wanz, what's I know you just released a song, a couple of weeks ago I saw. What's the easiest place to get your new music?
You can always find, all you got to do is Google WANZ and you'll find me. I'm everywhere all the time. It's like I follow both of these guys. It's, it still just gives me a little tingle when I tweet something political and liked by Duff McKagan.
Always.
We like both each other.
Whenever Duff likes or retweets one of my posts, I always get a bunch of proposals from women who live in South America. They all think that I know Duff, and hey, I love you. I'm like, oh, I love you too.
That's what
and Duff, you're working on stuff, and who knows? You'll surprise us with something.
Yeah.
Always working.
Hey, could you ever dunk? I'm thinking because I never could dunk. Wanz, I don't know if you could ever dunk. Sean, you said you're not tall enough. You're the tallest guy in this conversation, Duff. Could you dunk?
Okay, so check it out. I got sober at 30. I started riding mountain bikes, doing martial arts, and I'm like, there was a basketball court at a rehearsal place, like next door, and I'm like, I should be able to dunk. And I tried dunking like from a standstill. Almost got there. I was super fit, super light, and I ran from half court, not dribbling, with the ball, and I dunked it one time.
Yes, one time.
One time. That's it.
No dribbling. I'm real good with 8th graders with the 8-foot rim. I can hold my own.
Yeah. The 8-foot rim. I was dominant on the 8-foot rim, but then they put it up to 10, and I'm like, wait a minute, what?
It's a bit high reach. Yeah, totally. When I jump, I only touch my finger can touch the hoops. Can't get the over to dunk yet. So right. I'm still working on it though. I'm working on it.
Well, I'll support you. I support you.
You've all got other talents. I can't thank you enough for joining us, and this is all of your lives. Duff, you lived a dream and got into this band, and then got your life in order and lived a dream again by getting the band back together. Wanz, you're a working man, and you've been out there working, and all of a sudden, bang, you're a part of this huge hit. Sean, you're going to open mics at a cafe in Jamaica 30 years ago, and all of a sudden, bang, you become one of the great stars in music. You all three have Grammys. You've all three achieved dreams, and that's kind of what this thing is about today, is hoping the Jamaican national basketball team can achieve its dreams. So it's appropriate to have you here, and I'm Sean, great to meet you, and Wanz and Duff. You know how I feel about you guys. I'm lucky to call you friends, and thanks for doing this with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you, Duff. Wanz, thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you, boss.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. See ya.